Welcome to the Metaphysical Journey. My name is Michael. In this pick a card reading, you'll actually be getting more than one card. You're going to be getting four. So I would like for you to choose between group number one, number two, or number three. For this, the overall theme is I was given shadow work. My thought was great, just what we need. But it was quickly corrected to say it's not looking inside yourself for the areas that need to be fixed. This is looking inside yourself for the areas that most people we don't look at, and that's your strength, your power, what's in there that you're possibly not seeing or you're overlooking, feeling that maybe you're flawed in some way or that you've messed up too many times and you can look back and see all the mistakes you've made, but have you seen all the growth that you've made along the way and how courageous you have been and the power that you have inside of you that perhaps you're not tapping into. So that's what this is about. I'm going to be pulling from four different decks, and it's an interesting combination, I'll tell you that. It's starting with messages from the Mermaids, Biblical Tarot, the Art of War, and also the Ask Yourself Tarot. So, group number one, number two, or number three. Let's get started. Group number one, your main theme card is inner knowing. Inner knowing. So this is definitely the overall, when I look at all of them, this is about your intuition. This is something that you know inside that you are not following. You're kind of bypassing it in a way, or you're saying, I'm not ready for this, or I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen after this. So this is a strength area that you might not be tapping into fully because all the answers are inside of you. You know, your higher self tries to tell you things and maybe you're overlooking it thinking, no. So inner knowing, the tarot card that comes out from biblical tarot is the ace of grains. So this would be kind of like the ace of pentacles. It's earth, and it says entering the promised land. And it shows the picture of the parting of the Red Sea. And this was when the Israelites were fleeing out of Egypt. They were leaving, and Pharaoh's army was after them, and they got to the Red Sea. Moses parted it, and they walk across the water, and they're having to do it pretty quickly because the Pharaoh's army is right behind them. In fact, Pharaoh's army goes into that area, and the seas close on them, and it just drowns them all. So this is going from one place to another in a pretty rapid time. The seas don't just part anytime you walk up. There's a certain period of time, and that's where this inner knowing comes in. You're at a point in your life right now where you are leaving something that you have been going back to the reference of this. This is something you've been in bondage to for a long time. That you've just kind of gone along with it and you've not been happy about it. You feel almost like a servant to it, and it's time for that to change. The Israelites were in slavery or in bondage for I think 400 years, and Moses is like, pack it up, time to get out, and they all leave. It was an interesting story. You've watched the Ten Commandments, so you know how that works. It's very dramatic in the Ten Commandments how that works. Every time I watch it, I still think, hurry, hurry, get across, even though I know they do. But it's just that moment catches you, and that's where you are right now. That is what you are facing. Each of you face this in a different way. Sometimes it's your relationship, it's a job, it's whatever it is. It's a transition from something that's held you back and has kept you in what you perceive to be bondage. You don't feel free. You can't say what you want to say. You can't do certain things because there's someone else controlling your life, or you think they're controlling your life. And this is what the point is here. You are not bound to anything or anyone. You're sovereign on your own. You make that call, and that's where you are right now. The art of war. Now, you probably wonder, and you've seen it at different stores. It's Sun Tzu, his ancient work, but it's just a brilliant deck. So this is where the power comes in. And I was wondering when my team told me to use this, I'm like, what in the world would that be for? It's like learning how to use your power, getting that courage and confidence. So this card says be decisive and be quick. Remember, don't have a lot of time there before this E parts or before it closes. So be decisive, be quick. It says life is short. Although it's only when you reach a certain age that you realize this, the fact is that you cannot afford to wait too long to tackle your problems or get out of your bondage, as they will only get worse. Face them now. Decide what to do and act quickly. You may find things are not as difficult as you thought. Now, Sun Tzu said, um, though we have heard of stupid haste in war, cleverness has never been seen associated with long delays. So, group number one, where you are right now in your life, you're ready to go. You're ready to make a change. And this is suggesting, these cards are suggesting, don't hesitate too long on whatever it is, because you never know when the seas will part again. The fourth card is from the Ask Yourself Tarot, and the card that came out is Temperance. It's interesting. And there's a question, and it says, what situation in your life is asking you to have patience and determination? And that's two different things. So, as the Sun Tzu said, that stupid haste, but also it's clever to be prepared and to move ahead. Temperance is asking, this is kind of where you are right now. You're thinking, do I wait or do I go? Do I decide now or do I just decide later? So, what situation in your life is asking you to have patience and determination? Those two can go together. You can be patient to say, and be determined to say, I'm going to make the move now. And I realize that I'm going to have to start over. That's going to take some time. I'm going to have to take a while to get back on my feet or back into another, whatever it is. Those two work together as one, but it shows it's a strategy. That is the war zone that you're facing right now, and that's the decision that you're making. The art of war is perfect for all three of these groups for our life in general, because the greatest battle we will ever face is the one in our head, in our mind. We think of all the scenarios. Well, if I do this, they're going to do that, and then I'll do this, and it's like a war zone in there of trying to figure out what to do. You're not at battle with anyone right now. You're in battle with yourself. Of you deciding, what am I going to do? That was group number one. If you chose group number two, your first card is contemplation. You're at a place, you're thinking about something, like you're contemplating, what am I going to do? Which way am I going to go? Now, this one also falls pretty closely with the one before it in a way. It's a transition. In fact, all three of the groups, it shows that right now people are in a transition phase. They're trying to decide of what's happening. And I'm sure that you've experienced that in the world around you. You see it going on everywhere. People are just making these dramatic changes in their life. So, contemplation. What are you contemplating? What change? The tarot card, the biblical tarot card, is the Queen of Grain. So this is the Queen of Pentacles. So this has a lot to do with it's. I like that it's grains on this. They use that instead of pentacles because in the Bible times it wasn't so much about the money, and that was important, but it's about the resources that you have. Grain and oil are huge. Salt is another. And it's the things that you need to survive. Man can't live on bread alone. So there's other things they have to have, but bread can be defined in many different ways. Today we call money. Sometimes it was called that's bread. Give me some bread, and your salary, SAL, is salt. Sal is salt. So those were important commodities. Cattle, sheep, huge. That was the sign of wealth. So it's the sign of when you have the Queen of Grains. It's it's the same as the Queen of Pentacles in that it's a nurturing, it's looking for stability, it's support, structure of creating that for the world around you and for your family. You want to be secure. So you're contemplating something right now that's taking you from where you are right now to a safer, more secure place, a place where you feel secure personally, physically, economically, and you're also thinking about it's the queen. It's not just an individual person. So you're thinking about your loved ones. Is what do I need to do to make my life better? Not that I need to have more money in the bank, which is always good, but to have love, support, sustenance, something to keep me going so I can live another day. You know, we remember the story in the Bible of the prophet, I think he was. He went to a widow and wanted something to eat, and she said, I only have enough oil to feed my son and myself, and then we're gonna die. And he says, have faith, pour it, go and get all these vessels and stuff, just get as many as you can. And she believes him and runs out and borrows these clay pots and vessels from all these different people that she can. And she starts pouring the little oil that she has into that, and it fills them all up. And she still has a little left over. So it was a huge miracle. But because of that, she was blessed. She went forward in faith, which is what you're being asked to do. I'm going to rephrase that. It's what you are being shown that you could consider doing. It's your choice, free will, right? So this is coming forward right now to say, consider this. What are you contemplating? Are you contemplating that you want something better for yourself, but you're afraid you can't do it? You're not going to have the resources, you're not going to have the oil or the energy to fuel it. Have some faith on this one. So, the story of the Queen of Grains, this is really interesting, and this comes from Proverbs 31. And this is about King Lemuel, I think. And in that, it's a story that it's talking, it's his mother talking to him. And what she's basically telling him in Michael translation here is that don't be fooled or give away your power to drinking and being around people that are drunk all the time. And that's can be drunk either on alcohol, but in power. Drunk on who you are, your ego, your power, your etc., all of that. Forget that. Do things that, and then it goes into the signs of a virtuous woman, a faithful wife, and so she's telling her son, the mother's telling the son, forget all of those other things. Don't fall to those because that will trap you and you end up giving your power away to other things. You become a victim to that. And so don't do that. And so instead of going out and, partying it up, find a faithful partner, someone that you can love and that loves you and they're devoted and faithful because that's where your strength is. You're working together, growing something. And she talks about, the mother talks about the signs of a virtuous wife. Not virtuous necessarily meaning, that she's not run the block several times, because that back then, that wouldn't have been that big of a, I mean, that wouldn't have been something really to consider because they would always make sure that people were virtuous. I guess. I don't know. I wasn't there then. Um, and we'll skip the woman at the well story. It's not going to play in on that one. But anyway, that's what she's telling him. And it's interesting because until this card came up, I had never looked at Proverbs 31 ever. And while I was reading down toward the end, there was one whole passage in there that at my mother's funeral, the pastor talked about that, about the signs of a virtuous woman and what a faithful companion and loving. And it's a virtuous woman, a great partner is more valuable than rubies. And that's what it says. And the preacher talked about that. And I thought that's the sweet things it said about my mom. And I never knew where it came from until this reading. So that was really great to hear. And she was a wonderful woman. So how do you, when in the contemplation of what's going on and choosing what is right for you, what is the path you want to take? Because if the virtuous woman comes in, it also shows that whether you're male or female, you're a person that wants to be true to yourself and authentic. You want it to be right, and you want something that leaves a legacy behind you. You're building a legacy, and people will look at you and say, "I want to be like them." they're doing everything right. They're not trying to cut people's throats. They're not trying to climb over people's dead bodies to get to the top. They're doing everything right, and they're being blessed because of that. So, in the battle of the mind, what is something that may be kind of blocking that? And that's where the art of war comes in. And Sun Tzu says, at the critical moment, the leader of an army acts like one who has climbed up a height and then kicks away the ladder behind them. He carries his men deep into hostile territory before he shows his hand. That is a leader. They get to the top and they basically kick that ladder away or whatever's blocking them in the back, or they walk just ahead on the sea and the sea closes up, from card number one, if you saw that one. And they're like, we're moving forward. We're not stopping. There's no looking back now. We're going to do this. And on the back of the card, this is what the front looks like. On the back of the card, it says, choose well, then give it everything you've got. Almost everything we do in life involves making a choice. We're talking about the big ones here. For example, marriage, virtuous wife, or virtuous husband, whatever. Um, if you decide on someone but are hesitant to commit, you may have made the wrong choice. If you have thought long and hard about it, consider all the options, the pros and the cons. Don't go in half-hearted. Commit, kick away the ladder, and give it everything you got. So, group number two, if this is coming up, this, I mean, it screams relationship, but not necessarily always with a person. This can be how you show up in life at your job, in any type of a group that you're a member of, with your friends, that you say, I am now a new me. It's a new timeline, a timeline that I am in, and I no longer want to show up as the old person. I'm choosing virtue, ethics, morality, whatever you want to call it. And those words are defined in many different ways, I guess. But it's like you're choosing to step out as a different person and leave the old person behind because the old person was where the weaknesses were, the insecurities and the stuff that kept you trapped in something. And you're now saying, I'm a new me. It's, I'm me 2.0 and I'm moving forward and I'm going to do what's right for me because this is the example I want to put forward to the world, not just to my family, but to everyone. When they see me, I want them to see me as a different person. This is also a major boundary that you're putting up for you. It's your boundary. And you don't place boundaries on other people. You place expectations. You hope, you expect that they will do certain things right, but that's for a conversation or whatever that you have. But this is you're putting boundaries. The last card is from the Ask Yourself Tarot and Six of Swords. And I want to say right now in all these cards, I did everything. I had them all face down. I shuffled and shuffled multiple times and I laid a card down. And then I did the next deck and did that. So I did not know what these were ahead of time. The cards that were out is that's what I've gone with. And how these have come out is just an incredible how this comes together. At least I think so. I'm excited about it. But Six of Swords. And the question is, what do you need to remove yourself from for peace of mind? That security, the future, the abundance that you want. And the abundance that you want, as I said earlier, may not be money. It just may be quiet. Having quiet around you, having love and being with people that care for you and you care for them. Having love and understanding you can't buy that. That truly is abundance in its purest form. Anyway, that's group number two. If you chose group number three, your first card is Innocence. And on this one, the the feeling I get from this is that if you chose this group, it's that you've been placed in a situation to where you're saying, I didn't do this. I didn't start this. I'm innocent. Why is this happening to me? That's how I feel this. Now, normally when you look at this card, you would get different vibes. People get different vibes from it. But for me, thinking that you're placed, and because of the second card, how that came out, I'm going to tie into that. But you've been placed in a situation that you did not start. You did not start it. You are innocent of it, and now you have to deal with it. The second card that comes up, the biblical tarot, is the Seven of Candles, and this is David and Goliath. So you see little David and huge Goliath there, and David is facing the giant. All the ones around him were afraid to face it. And David's like, yeah, I got a slingshot. I'll do this. That takes a lot of guts. Now, David later went on to become a king as as he got older, but it takes a lot of guts. And this is where you are right now. If you've chosen this group, you are facing some type of an enemy type of thing, and you're feeling like a victim. You didn't start it, but no one's trying to finish it, and now you have to. This also, too, can be you're facing some of your deepest fears about yourself. It's like, oh, I don't want to talk about that particular section of life. That's the final frontier. I'm not ready to get on Star Trek and go in there right now. But now you're there. And you realize in order to move forward, you're going to have to face this and defeat it or be defeated by it. But you don't want to be defeated by it. You want to sail through it. And that's where this comes up, the David and Goliath card. So you're in a battle right now, one that you didn't start. So the Art of War card, this is kind of the strategy that you would use or something to think about as you're going through. Now, on this particular group, this last one, there are many different scenarios. Everyone faces a different battle and a different enemy, whether they're real or perceived or imagined or feared in our head that that's what's going to happen. So each of you is different. So apply this to how it works in your life. But the Sun Tzu card, Art of War, says, if in the midst of difficulties we are always ready to seize an opportunity, an advantage, if we are always ready to seize an advantage, we may extricate ourselves from misfortune. And on the back, it says, embracing change. Change is inevitable, but many are scared of it. Major life events, leaving home, quitting a job, splitting up with a partner, marriage, or divorce, are stressful. Prepare for the worst, but taking the right risks at the right time will ensure you get through it. The best way to prepare for change is to be the one driving it. In David and Goliath, when everyone else, including David's brothers, his older brothers, they were terrified. I mean, Goliath was just tearing them apart, and he was also very boastful. He was just a huge bully, and he even started mocking their God. I mean, he just was made them feel as low as worms, and they were terrified of him. And this is the interesting part of the story on this is that David was not, my dog is trying to push me out of my chair. Um, David was not a warrior. He was a shepherd. I mean, he watched the sheep, and he had killed a bear and I think a lion at some point, trying to attack his sheep, and he took them down with a slingshot. So he wasn't a fighter. But what happened to him, and this may be what's happening in your life right now, is that he was hearing all of this and he was seeing it, and he was not saying that much. But when Goliath started mocking his God, something very dear to him, that's when he got in warrior mode. That's when he stepped up and said, I'll take you. And, his brothers were like, he's going to eat you for lunch. Are you crazy? And he's like, I don't care. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stand up for my beliefs, and I'm going to do this. So, what in your life might be that catalyst point for you? What is the one thing that you have set a boundary on and you've said, I am not going to cross this line anymore? I have stepped over the line, over the line, and over the line. I don't even know where the line originally was. It's so far back there. I have lost sight of it. I can't see it. I have compromised and compromised as many times as I possibly can. There has to be a time to stop. Now is it. And that's where David was. And he defeated Goliath and won because was he scared of the Goliath? I'm sure absolutely. Who wouldn't be? But he made that decision of no more backing down on this particular point for me. I can give up everything else, but I'm not going to let you talk bad about my God or my spouse or my children or how I live, how I dress, how I whatever. I'm tired of worrying about what you all are going to think. I'm done. And that's what this one is about. And it's innocence because you've done nothing wrong. You've just tried to live your own life. And everyone has a problem with it. So you keep giving in and giving in. It's like, well, I'll go along to get along. It's okay. And every day becomes a war zone, not necessarily with the people doing it, but inside your head. So this whole thing is about shadow type of work of going in and finding where your power is and where you may be overlooking it. And group three, this is very strong with that. So it's like the Sun Tzu card says, embracing change. It doesn't always mean change on the outside. That's on the inside. When we change on the inside, everything outside changes. Thank you, Mary Jo Pulio, because she said that. It's a beautiful quote. I love that because when we change on the inside, everything outside changes. When we defeat the battle in our head, the battle on the outside goes away. We're no longer at war. We're at war with ourselves. That's how life works. We're at war with ourselves because how we see things in our head is how we perceive the world coming in. If I have a lot of insecurities and doubts and all kinds of things, I'm going to automatically assume that when people say things, that's what they're shooting back at me. So I'm kind of defeating myself. I am arming the enemy to attack me, and they're not even attacking me. I just think they are. I'm attacking myself. So group three, seriously, what this such a strong thing of something you're overlooking possibly because you're more powerful than you realize. You don't have to go to battle. You don't. You can walk away because a lot of the times those battles are only in our heads. It's those fights you have in the morning every day in the shower, every day in the shower in the morning. And you have these arguments with stuff and you end up hurting your own feelings when you're done and you never even it never plays out. You never have those conversations, which is good because you're already exhausted with the ones you had in your head. So the last card for you is death, and that's a total transformation card right here. This is a great one, and the question says, what situation in your life is transforming and changing to bring about something new? On the surface, when we see that, we're going to think, well, what's going on in my environment? What's happening? How are people this, and that? And that's not what this is. This one is about what's changing in your own thoughts. How has the battle in the battlefield started shifting? It's time to raise a white flag in our heads and say, this war is over. I'm not going to fight myself anymore. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to let it go. It's going to take time to do that, but we can do that. And when we do, we're going to find that peacetime is so much better. It's easier. And that's group number three. Well, thank you for joining me for this pick a card or pick a group reading. I hope that you've got something out of it. I want to say how much I appreciate each and every one of you for following me on the metaphysical journey. I hope that you'll take a moment to maybe leave a comment, anything, just to let me know that you watched and if it resonated with you based on the group that you chose. Thank you and have a good evening.